We're talking about these. Welcome to the Appalachian Mountains. As I mentioned in my last video, these mountains are old. I think I said 65 in my last video. I don't know where that number came from. They are 480 million years old. They started forming on Pangea. There are caves in the mountains that have no fossils in them because there was nothing there to fossilize because the mountains formed before vertebrates did. So the reason these guys are so much smaller than these guys is because they're already millions of years into the erosion process. And being that old, they have a rich history. Like I said, there's things in them hills. There are actually theories that this mountain range and the things that live in it are the reason that colonizers would take Native Americans and use them as guides for the land, because they knew the land and they knew the mountains and they knew what was in the mountains. Now, if you've ever been on the Appalachia side of TikTok, you know the rules. If you hear your name in the forest, no you didn't. If you see something in the forest, no you didn't. If you hear a baby crying at night, no you didn't. But you might not know why. Because the place is crawling with cryptids. Now, you might have heard me use that term before, so if you don't know what a cryptid is, it's a being or an animal that cryptozoologists believe may exist somewhere in the wild. Cryptozoology is not currently recognized by science, it's considered a pseudoscience. But when all these people over this much geographical diversity see the same thing, report the same thing, they might be onto something. There are hundreds of reports of things like Bigfoot, Mothman, Wolfman, Grimm's, the Cherokee Death Cat, the Wampus Beast, the Smoke Wolf, and flesh pedestrians. I refuse to say the actual name of that cryptid, so just type flesh pedestrians into the TikTok search bar and learn yourself some learning. It's also interesting that hundreds of people go missing in the Appalachian Mountains every year, but the National Park Service can't provide any information on how many exactly go missing or how many are ever found. Unlike the people who go missing in the mountains, there are people who actually live in the mountains. And I don't mean people who live in cities next to the mountains or towns on the mountains. I mean people who live in the mountains. There are families and entire communities who live in the mountains off the grid with no running water or electricity. There are even reports that there are entire communities living in caves. But of course, there's no data on that. Considering that this land didn't always belong to us, it's no surprise that the Appalachian Mountains are home to hundreds of sacred Native American burial sites. And have we not learned our lesson about disturbing those places? And all that aside, the mountains are home to typical mountain animals like bears, bobcats, venomous snakes. When you factor in all those things, it's safe to say nothing's getting past old Appalachia.